As time moves on and technology becomes more advanced, it's imperative that law enforcement remain up to date with ways in which clues and information can be developed. The phrase digital footprint is now common among police and criminals alike, and forensically aware criminals need to be similarly aware of how technology can trip them up. In today's case, we see that the perpetrator was not especially forensically aware and was in fact a cockwomble of the highest order. But this case does highlight how technology can be an important part of the jigsaw of evidence that can nail a killer to the wall. With all of this said, let's jump into the relatively recent case of the murder of Ally Kostial. Just 21 years old when she was mercilessly shot and killed, and the trail of evidence that led to the arrest and conviction of 22-year-old Brandon Thiesfeld. This is Murder of Crows. It was a scene familiar to any parent that has taken a child to college or university. Cindy Kostial and her husband Keith were visiting their daughter Alexandria, known to just about everyone as Ally, and this was in July of 2019. The family were from St. Louis, and they were helping their daughter get an off-campus apartment in Oxford ready for the forthcoming year, where she was to be a senior at the University of Mississippi. She was attending summer school at the university and was also teaching fitness classes ahead of the academic year starting, where she was entering the final year of a marketing degree. Now, the university is often known by its nickname of Ole Miss, but the roots of that nickname are somewhat disturbing and completely off topic for this video. But by all means Google it and prepare to be a little unsettled. Anyway, back to Cindy and Keith and their visit to Ally. Ally was enjoying having her parents visiting and was trying to convince them to stay an extra day, as she was enjoying being cooked for. But eventually there came that wrench that parents leaving their children to fend for themselves will know only too well. What Cindy and Keith didn't know as they left Oxford was that it would be the last time they would see Ally alive. As Ally was entering her senior year, she already had a close-knit group of friends, and the 21-year-old was extremely popular and well-liked, and as well as running fitness courses, she was also a member of the golf club. Like many young folks these days, she'd been having an on-again, off-again relationship for around a year with a fellow student called Brandon Thiesfeld. Jesus, I just don't get on-off relationships. Surely you like somebody or you don't. But yes, call me old-fashioned. Anyway, they had this type of relationship for the year before she was heading into her senior year at the university. On July the 20th, 2019, Ally went on a night out with her friends. Now, if you're expecting a tale where she disappears on a night out with her friends, you're not right. She ended the night at Funky's Pizza and Daiquiri Bar, and she left there at about 11:50 p.m. and she walked to Rooster's Blues House, where she got into a silver minivan, and this was an Uber ride share, and she got back to her apartment, according to one of her other roommates, at around midnight. But the next morning she is not at the apartment. It seems she must have left the apartment sometime after midnight, unknown to her housemates, who were unaware of her leaving, having already returned. The sighting at midnight was to be the last time Ally was seen alive. On the morning of the 21st of July 2019, officers with the Lafayette County Sheriff's Department, on a routine patrol in the Harmontown area, make a grisly discovery at Buford Ridge, at a picnic area. They find the body of a young woman who has been shot numerous times. It appeared that she had been shot at the place where her body was found, as several shell casings were found on the crime scene. The body was identified as Ally Kostial, but it was not known how she came to be at the place where her body was found. As is pretty typical for police when they find and identify a body but have no immediate leads, they go through victimology. If you can find out how the victim lived, then you have a good chance of finding out how they died. And from speaking to the circle of friends and acquaintances, every conversation, hint, statement and otherwise comments were all pointed squarely at her on-off boyfriend Brandon Thiesfeld, who was described as a hard-partying ladies' man with a misogynistic streak. He sounds lovely. Investigators learned that Thiesfeld was planning on seeing Ally the night that she died, and this provided a strong early lead. According to investigator Jared Bundren, when they dug further into Ally's texts later on, they found she had shared with Thiesfeld some life-changing news. She thought that she was pregnant, said Bundren. In April of 2019, 3 months prior to her murder, the couple started texting back and forth about Ally's situation around the pregnancy, and she even sent him a photo of a home pregnancy test that appeared inconclusive. Thiesfeld's immediate response was that they would not keep the baby. Ally spent the next 3 months texting Thiesfeld, asking to meet to discuss the situation in person. On the night before she died, it seems that Thiesfeld finally relented and agreed to meet with her. Now, Ally's cell phone was not found at the crime scene along with her purse. But this is where digital awareness comes in. At her apartment, they found Ally's Apple Watch, and through that they were able to view her recent text messages. And it would be fair to say that Thiesfeld was dismissive of Ally's pregnancy concerns, and according to friends, he had no real interest in discussing it further. Now, with the net closing around Thiesfeld, there were further digital clues that were incredibly incriminating. Investigators said both of Kostial's and Thiesfeld's phones pinged on the way out to Lake Sardis, where her body was later found. Between 2:15 and 2:30 a.m., a resident of the area told police that they heard gunshots. Both phones continued pinging as they left the area a little later, but Kostial's was eventually discarded and was not found. But Thiesfeld's continued to ping, and it showed him arriving back in Oxford at 3:28 a.m. At this same time, his search history showed "Listen to police scanner." And this was not the only interesting thing found in Thiesfeld's internet search history. According to the investigators, Thiesfeld's internet search, after hearing from Kostial that she might be pregnant, showed him searching abortion services and abortion pills. He also told her via text that he wasn't ready to be a father. From there, they stopped seeing each other in person, and their communications were strictly electronic. From looking at his social media posts, his attitudes and general manner were clear, but perhaps the most ominous post came after visiting his home in Fort Worth, Texas, where he had visited to speak to his father. Apparently, he was taking one of his most prized possessions back to Mississippi with him. On the way back, he posted a photo to social media that showed his .40 caliber Glock Model 22 with the caption stating, "Finally bringing my baby back home." According to law enforcement, research history on his computer showed internet searches for, among other things, silencers and suppressors, hollow point ammunition, tactical face masks, and how Ted Bundy lured his victims to death. While good old-fashioned police work, including significant victimology, is critical in any investigation, it's also clear that the digital evidence was an extremely strong and large part of the evidence piling up against Thiesfeld. By the 22nd of July, just a day or so after Ally's body was found and identified, the police were ready to move on Thiesfeld. So after Brandon Thiesfeld failed to show up at the police station when he said he was going to, investigators obtained an arrest affidavit under exigent circumstances and started tracking his phone. The location data revealed Thiesfeld was driving away from Oxford, Mississippi, in the direction of Memphis, Tennessee. Authorities released a BOLO, or be on the lookout, for Thiesfeld's vehicle. His pickup truck would be easy to identify because it featured a license plate with the phrase, "Take it." When a task force was sent to intercept him, he was arrested and taken into custody at a gas station without incident. In the face of significant evidence against him, it would be fair to say that he was 1. Not the most sophisticated or forensically aware of criminals, and 2. Completely 100% fucked. He was charged with Ally's murder just one day later, on the 23rd of July. Perhaps unsurprisingly, and I suppose it's quite redundant me saying this, but Thiesfeld was suspended from the university following his arrest. In August of 2021, Thiesfeld pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison. During sentencing, Thiesfeld read a statement and apologized to Kostial's family. "I wish I could take it all back, but I can't. I have asked God to forgive me. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me," he said. No, Brandon, no, we can't, you pathetic, spoilt, entitled, selfish shit biscuit. We hope your time in prison is miserable and in every conceivable way painful for you. Brandon Thiesfeld will serve his life sentence at the Mississippi State Penitentiary, also known as Parchman. So that was yet another case of a misogynistic, entitled man who could not handle having things exactly as he wanted them. A beautiful, intelligent young woman just starting to make her own way in the world. And she would undoubtedly have been a force for good in the world. She was cruelly cut down by a self-serving arsehole of a man. His 10-second actions in pulling the trigger ended one life and irreparably damaged countless others through pure selfishness. This video is of course dedicated to Alexandria Ally Kostial, yet another example of a bright light extinguished far too soon. Thank you for watching another episode of Murder of Crows. Please send any case suggestions to the email address on screen now here. I'm Steve. This ginger whinger is Samson. And we will see you when we see you. Say that